Hey everyone, I'm Willow, and today we are going to be swatching the Caran Neocolor II Water-Soluble Wax Pastels. I got these in my last art haul, and I do plan on doing a straightforward swatch card for them, but today I wanted to get creative with my swatches. There was a bit of planning that went into figuring out how many spaces I would need. I have the 30 color set, plus a few open stock colors, and I kept debating whether or not to include the grays and black. Brain malfunctioning. Eventually decisions got made, and I went in with a Pigma Micron pen to turn my rough sketch into these organic shapes. In my head, I was going for a pebbles at the bottom of a lake kind of feel, but as I was making it, I was also reminded of those neurologic art doodles that you see everywhere, where you draw a bunch of intersecting lines and then fill in the shapes with color. This was obviously a lot less spontaneous than that, since I did need 29 shapes exactly, but once I had my roadmap all laid out, I did find the coloring in to be super relaxing, and I kinda got lost in the process. Coloring in these shapes, all I'm really thinking about is building up the color more around the edges and keeping it lighter in the center to give each pebble a bit of dimension. I also wanted to make sure that I could see the pigment at its full mass tone, as well as a more watered down swatch. I'm using the Canson Moulin de Roy hot press watercolor paper, and the pastels went down so smooth and buttery on the surface. As you've probably figured out by now, I did decide to leave out the black, white, and grays from this set, but don't worry, I do have a plan for them later. Once you start adding water to these Neocolor crayons is when they truly come to life. The moment the brush touches the pigment, you can see it start to melt, and it's just so satisfying. I went with a snappier synthetic brush for this, and just a little scrubbing to help work the pigment off the paper is all it takes to completely dissolve these crayons and turn them into this buttery watercolor consistency. I could watch this all day. And this is how my swatch sheet turned out. What do you think? Personally, I love seeing all the colors together and being able to really see the differences in some of the more pale shades, since they do become quite a bit more vibrant once you add water. I also found that making larger swatches was super helpful because it gave me a feel for what it's really like to work with these pastels. And the one thing that I would probably do different next time is to use a heavier line art for the shapes before I colored them in. I think if I'd used a brush pen or something like that, they would look more dimensional, and also it would have been easier to color within the lines. So yeah, thicker lines would have been nice. But as much fun as I've had swatching all these colors, there's still 4 pastels that haven't gotten any love. So let's take a look at that grayscale swatch that I promised. Now, I had heard that these pastels could be layered and used a little bit like gouache if you apply them thickly, so I went in with some heavy layering with this one to create a really opaque gradient from black to white.
Things are well. What facts belong, it's hard to say. Your pattern is so hard to tell. But we're together, that's our game. Round and round and round we go. The dance ain't over, I'm sure we're still the same. Love the ways you make us whole. Would you say if things ain't right? Look away, what's really going on? What's really going on? Would you tell me, can't you say what's really going on?
This was also super satisfying, and with just 2 layers, the pastel pigments really did have a gouache-like feel to it. The black and white are both super creamy and definitely pigmented enough to be used as an opaque medium. After thoroughly drying this with a hairdryer, I went ahead and tested the layerability even more by adding some white dots and stars against the darkest areas and some black silhouetted power lines over the light areas. Obviously, it's pretty tricky to get any kind of detail with what is essentially a crayon, and although this isn't how I would likely use them in my regular work, it is a great little test for how they can layer and cover over things. This was a super simple and fun little experiment, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did the grayscale swatches on a cheaper cellulose watercolor paper, and I definitely think this is one of the benefits of these pastels. They work really well with a minimal amount of water, so even a cheap watercolor paper will be able to handle them. So that is our grayscale night scene and our abstract colorful pebble swatches. I had a lot of fun making these, and I hope that I've inspired you to swatch an art supply that you already have. Or if you've been wanting to try these Neocolor IIs, I will have an Amazon affiliate link in the description below. Drop a comment letting me know what you'd like to see me paint with these Neocolors next, and if you're looking for another fun and simple art idea, then check out this video where I used Posca pens to paint the cover of my white sketchbook. I really love how the drippy rainbow effect turned out on that one, so if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out, and I will see you there. Bye!